Hey everyone, welcome to the VO Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Ann Ganguzza, and I am here with the Boss Money Talk series with my good friend, Danielle Famble. Hey, Danielle.
Hey,
How are
Ann.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Danielle, I just got an email from Amazon,
Oh.
and the subject said, you might like this, or we found something you might like, which I think is such a marketing tactic, which
It is a good opening
works
line
on me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
It works on
You
me
definitely opened
because
the email, didn't you?
yeah, because it's based on my previous, either browsing or my previous purchases. And so those of you that have ever perused the VO Boss website know that I have a studio gear page where I put all the recommendations for studio gear. And so I was updating that page. And of course, everything that they sent to me was studio gear related. And I was like, ooh, look at that shiny new interface. Look at that shiny new pair of headphones.
Yeah.
New colors.
Yeah.
It leads me to think about, Danielle, what VO expenses are actually worth the ROI? I mean, that is something that I think every voice actor needs to consider when they're spending money and investing in their business. So which purchases are actually worth it? That'd be a good time to talk about those things.
Yeah, no,
There's so many things I could spend my money on.
Yeah, and there are lots of little things that you can invest in your business, and some of them are tangible, like you're talking about the headphones or the interface, and then some of them are intangible, like when you're investing in your education or you're investing in yourself with coaching. So I think that that's such a personal question, and it also will change as you progress in your VO Boss journey.
Agreed.
The things that are great in returns on investment when you're earlier on in your career, you may not invest in those again when you're 10, 15, 20, 30 plus years in the game. So that's a fun little question.
I mean, we could start with the obvious. The obvious would be most people think, well, okay, I want to be a voice actor, so what do I need? I need a microphone, right? So there are microphones, and I think, microphones are an investment that if you're just starting out and you're not sure if this is really the thing that you want to do, or you're going to, this is a long-term investment for you. Maybe just a starter microphone works. That's a few $100s. And I think that would be worth an investment to just get your feet wet, dip your toes in the water and find out if this is a career choice that you are going to stick with. But if you kind of know that in your heart and you've done enough research and maybe you've gone ahead and done some coaching and you're fairly certain, I would say it's absolutely worth your investment to invest in a good microphone. I mean, because I think microphones are one thing. We may use them every single day, right? Yeah. But we're not like handling them too much. We're not like, dropping them on the ground, God forbid. And so a good microphone is going to last for years and years. Like my 416 and my TLM 103, I've had them for already like going on 15 years, like literally. And they're not, there's no signs of slowing down. However, at one point they will, but I've certainly made back the money that I've invested in them.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I'm kind of more of the grow as you go kind of mentality. So when I started, I was using the Synco mic D1, I think, or something like that, D2, and it was billed as the knockoff 416. And then when I actually had the 416, I was able to listen to them side by side, and it is not, but it worked out for the time being. It was what I could afford at the time.
Yeah.
And then the additional money, or the money that I had that I could have spent on the 416 at the time, I put that money into coaching. I put that money into getting a good demo. I put that money into investing in sort of the soft skills needed to win and do well in this business, and really in business in general. So I think that the ROI, again, like you can sort of start with what is the starter, and maybe the starter is a certain dollar amount. And I don't think there is a dollar amount, but it's the dollar amount that is comfortable for you, that maybe isn't the 416 or the TLM 103, something like that. And then you use you use some of that money to then invest in the soft skills and invest in your coaching, invest in,
I think that's important in the beginning.
your website or things like that.
I started off with an AT 2020, and I graduated to a Rode NT1A, which is not necessarily what I would recommend today, but those were only a few $100s. And I'll still remember when I actually got my very first like major investment in a mic was a good 10 years after I had been, because I made good money with that Rode for at least 6-7 years. And then, and it just didn't occur to me because I had a great studio at the time. And I didn't hear a need, or everybody said, oh my God, you sound great. And so I didn't feel a need that I had to go experiment with microphones. Now, some people are gearheads. Kind of like me investing in lipsticks or in clothing. They have to try it all. And
totally.
I remember, though, when I did invest in my TLM 103, I actually heard the difference, but I could not have been able to tell the difference probably. I think when you're first getting into the industry, it takes a minute for you to get an ear for your sound, for, your microphone. A lot of times, I think that we don't talk enough about that, and maybe that's fodder for another another episode. But developing your ear in voiceover for performance and for good equipment, it takes time. I mean, years. I'm going to say years. It's funny because, Danielle, if I try to talk about when did I find my sweet spot? Just, that sounds bad. When did you find your sweet spot, and how did it happen? I mean, it took me years.
You first, Anne. You go first.
Oh my gosh. Who knew it was going to turn into this conversation? But no, it took me a long time to actually hear it. It did. It took me a long time to say, oh, okay, now I've got it. And it took experimentation. It took, trying. And I think it took me, after years of being in the industry, of hearing the difference with a good quality pair of headphones, with a good quality mic, in a good quality studio. And so all of those were worth the ROI.
Yeah,
really.
And it took time. Like, that's the thing, is that as time progresses, what would get you back the ROI, that also increases as well. Things like investing in your booth, investing in where you're going to record. I started recording in my closet and like adding extra pillows, and I was taking pillow cases off of like my bed, from the couch cushions. I was taking anything that was soft and just bringing that into the closet with me to record. And I did quite a bit of work that way for a good amount of time. And then, time progressed and I got a different booth, and then I upgraded to the booth that I'm in currently. So I think if you can grow as you go, you might be getting more of an ROI because you're developing your ear, you're developing your business sense, your business savvy, you're understanding, what you bring to the microphone, what you bring
Absolutely.
to the business.
It's a growth journey.
All of that is how you increase that ROI for sure.
And we should talk about ROI. Is ROI always financially based?
No, I don't think so.
Right?
I think it can definitely be the intangibles as well. It can be how comfortable you feel attacking commercial copy. It can be how quickly you're able to adjust from in a session when you're given differing opinions on how you should read a line or something like that. It's your ability to speak up for yourself and ask for what you want and negotiate.
That's such a good point of this topic, because ROI, especially in our industry, when our voices are so much more than just physical voices for our product. It has everything to do with who we are, what got us here, our life journey, and confidence, right? So if a new microphone can make you feel more confident, can make your performance better, that's going to make your product better. So ROI, I think, in our type of industry, when it's a creative industry, really can be almost as much intangible as it is tangible.
It's
when
what
you're thinking
pouring into the product that you're offering, which is yourself. It's what you're pouring into your physical instrument. It's what you're pouring into your heart. It's what you're pouring into. I love the confidence aspect, because that is a huge intangible that is incredibly important.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It helps you feel good in your booth, in your read. It's what gives you the confidence to go to conferences and put yourself out there, reach out to new agents. like that is the product. The voice is the conduit to it, but
Yeah,
you,
absolutely.
the human being, are the product. And so whenever you can pour into yourself and make sure that you are operating at your best and highest vibration, you're going to get that ROI back, because you're putting out a one of one, a very unique commodity that not everyone can just get.
Spoken from the girl who loves to talk about money. I love that,
love
right?
that. Yes.
It's just as important, right?
Yeah.
I think for the ROI to be intangible as it is to be tangible.
Sure.
Now, if we talk about the tangible aspects of it, how do you measure the ROI? How do you look at the hard cold numbers for an investment in a microphone? I mean, are you looking at it on a monthly basis? Are you like, okay, I invested, $1,000 in this microphone, and how have I made it back? Right? Are you looking at the jobs you booked? Are you looking at, an agent you just got? And again, how do you track that really in cold, hard numbers? Sometimes you can't, right?
Sometimes you can't, but some things, for example, like a microphone or an interface, I look at things pretty clearly in terms of, can I afford it or not? That's sort of the start. And if I cannot afford it right now, how long will it take me to be able to afford it? Should I utilize other tools? Should I use debt? Should I put it on a credit card? But I know that I've got some invoices that are going to be paid by the end of the month, and so I can pay for it. Can I afford this thing? And then I look at, is this thing, let's say a microphone, is it replacing something that I've already used that needs to be replaced? Do I really need it? Or if I'm a gearhead and I just like it, that's fine too. But know that, before you just acquire new things. And then, do I know how to use it? That's sort of the intangible.
That's a good point.
Can I use it, can I use it how it needs to be used, or do I need to invest in education to learn how to use it?
Well,
for example, I got a new interface, and I wanted to make sure I knew how to use it. So yes, can I afford it? Yes, I bought it. Great. But then I didn't really know how to use it. So then I invested in
education,
coaching with an audio engineer who explained what it was to me and how I could use it. And so that then the ROI actually made sense, because when someone said, hey, can you turn up your gain or turn off that 4K button, or we need this, and this, can you tell us what your interface is? Like, I could speak to it with confidence because I had put in the time and energy to, yes, buy it, but then learn how to use it.
Yeah.
And for me, then that's how I look at the ROI.
Sure. Well, I get a lot of students, because obviously I'm a coach, and I get a lot of students who will say, well, I want to be able to pay for my coaching first, or I want to be able to work in the industry and then be able to pay for my demo.
Sure.
Or my coaching, my additional coaching. And so that's a tough one, because that's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Because in reality, you kind of have to figure out, you kind of have to make an investment in the coaching aspect of things. And of course, the demo too, because I'm a big believer that demos are what helps market that voice so that you can get the jobs, so that you can then reinvest it in your business. And so what are your thoughts about the intangible investments, like, well, investing in yourself with coaching and with, let's say, demos?
I think those are probably, as you're starting out, that's probably going to be what's going to get you the highest ROI are those intangibles. It's the coaching, it's the demos, it's the website, it's the marketing materials, it's knowing how to market yourself, it's knowing what genres you want to work in and that you're good at, and that that it's fun for you, that you're finding the joy. So those things, I think that's really where I would spend more of my energy and my money, trying to really invest in those things. But to your point, you need one to beget the other. The work begets work, but you've got to have something to show who you are, what you do, and how well you do that thing. So sometimes that may need to be, going into a little bit of debt so that you can purchase that, or it is utilizing your 9 to 5 to fund your 5 to 9.
Exactly.
It's having to sort of figure out, what is it that I'm trying to get. Let's say it's a demo or a coaching package, for example, and how much is that going to cost me? How long will it take me to save up for it, or what do I need to do to make that happen? Because then after a certain period of time, I usually say give yourself like 6 months to a year to try and get that money back.
Yeah.
It's a long
If
enough
not
time.
longer sometimes.
Yeah,
I think in
and
the
maybe
beginning,
even longer.
sometimes it could take longer because, I remember telling people my first year that I was kind of forced into no, I shouldn't say that. I made a decision to go full time when I decided to move across the country. And I thought for the first couple of months, I would look for a job in education because I came from education. And I was like, I had worked so hard in my other job. I took a few months off. Well, I actually couldn't have afforded at the time the few months off because that was like the crash of 2008. And so in reality, I basically was not successful in getting in the door really for my full-time job just because it was a new area and, I was specializing in technology and so there were lots of factors in that. And so I just decided to pour all of my energy into going full-time in VO. And as hard of a worker as I am, I still, the first year, maybe made $1,200. It was really something that I was learning lots of things. I mean, it was a new area. I was trying to get to know new people, new, local, studios and trying to figure out marketing because now I was doing it full time. And so there was a lot of investment that I made in my own education and in improving my voiceover, improving my getting new demos and that sort of thing. So I did put a lot of money out. For that initial investment. And so sometimes it can take a little bit of time to see the return on investment. And again, like we were talking about before, sometimes you don't recognize it because in this business, you kind of have to develop an ear for a lot of things. You have to develop an ear for your studio sound. You have to develop an ear for a microphone. Does it fit you? You have to develop an ear for for your auditioning, really. And that's kind of a soft skill, right? That incorporates coaching and incorporates just doing it and practicing it. So those are so difficult in the beginning, I think, to justify a return on investment. And I think if you're just getting involved in this business, you have to kind of expect those things to take more time than you would like them to.
Absolutely. And also know what not to do. So I always try to look at it as what am I doing to get to my very first dollar? And anything outside of that, maybe I don't need to be focusing my money on it because I'm not going to get that return on investment as quickly. So it maybe those things to get to your first dollar are the coaching, it's your marketing materials, it's your demos, it's your learning how to utilize your DAW or your interface. Like it's learning about those things, but maybe it's not getting like the super fancy website. Maybe it's not business cards. Maybe it's not, all kinds of other things that seem like, oh, this is what I should do for
a CRM
business purposes. A CRM, like just everything that you do for business. It may not be what you need to be doing now, but what can get you to your first dollar the quickest? Because that's a proof of concept that it's working. And if you can get to $1, you can get to 2, then you can get to 4, 6, 8, whatever. So I would look at it like that of where am I putting my energy and my effort? I know it's probably going to take a bit of time, but I'm driving towards getting to my first dollar. And that's how you'll get the snowball going.
Absolutely.
With the ROI.
I love that. And think about, I'm thinking old school here because remember a lot of times with businesses, they would frame their first dollar and put it and they hang it up like when they open their business. Like, I don't know if people do that anymore, but in reality, like that becomes like such an important concept. Like, what are you doing to make your first dollar? And you're right. Sometimes it doesn't happen immediately. And I think one thing that people just have to understand is that it does sometimes take time, right? But once you make the first dollar, as you said, then comes the second dollar, then comes the third dollar. And I notice it happens over and over in this business where it's like success begets success. Yeah, and so once you start booking jobs, right, outside of an occasional lull, right, which happens like seasonally in this industry, and that's something else that you have to get used to, then there's always the capability and the confidence to get to dollar number 2 and then to get to dollar number 3. And typically it happens more frequently. And then comes the confidence, which I don't think there's a price on that, to be quite honest. Because
Absolutely
once
not.
you have confidence in yourself, in your product, and in your business, I don't think there's anything stopping you from being successful.
For sure.
I mean,
Totally.
outside of maybe even things that could happen, like a natural disaster, that kind of thing, right? Because you've
Right.
proven to yourself at one point, right?
That you can do it.
You can do it, and that I think is such an important concept.
Yeah.
Let's talk about other things because you mentioned a website, and I don't want to let that go, because I think that a website investment is a whole lot more important than some people think. Because again, I'm going old school, right? When people used to actually make their first dollar and then frame it and hang it up in the place of their business. Well, the place of our business now is our studio. And so we really need to be thinking about where, we're going to celebrate those wins, right? And we want to think about how are we opening our storefront, right? Where is that storefront? Because it's not physical. Right? It's online. And so that impression, that storefront is where people go to buy things. I mean, I buy things online every day, and I think we all do, right? That storefront is important. And I think that is a worthy investment. Now, do you need to make that right away before you have a demo, or before you have, right, any samples to put up there, or even a thought as to what your brand is about? I think that you can always start creating a website on the back burner of things, because as you grow, it develops, kind of like your studio, right? You evolve, you change, you grow. I think your website is one of those things. Your storefront grows with you. What are your thoughts on websites?
I think it's important to have, you to place your digital shingle up so that people can find you, because in this day and age, so many people are finding you on your website or digital presence in some way, and then they're coming to speak with you via email. So they need to know how to reach you.
Right.
So I do think that's important. But some things do. The great thing about a website is that it can change and evolve, and sort of that's the point. So you start with what you have, and if what you have is just, this is my name, this is my picture, this is what I sound like, and this is how you can reach me, those basic things are that's what a website should entail.
Yeah.
Anything else, showing what
a way
you
to
do
purchase, a way to purchase a product.
A way to purchase a product. That is really it's the gateway to how to get to purchase the product of my voiceover services,
Exactly.
me as a person, and how we can work together, me, you, the client. But other than that, I don't think that, it serves you to wait to put that digital shingle up until you're ready.
Yeah.
Because there's time that could go to making your first dollar, even
Absolutely.
if that digital shingle is not the way that other people's digital shingles look. But I would say put the website up and get that out there as quickly as possible, that has the basic information about how to find you, how to purchase your product,
how to pay
that you're
you.
selling, how to pay you.
Exactly.
Maybe,
you have to be able to get pound so that people
Exactly.
can hire you and then pay you. And that, I think, is
and
so
those things
important.
will grow and evolve as time goes on. But you don't need to wait until all of these things are
Perfect.
in place and perfect to put it out there so that
Exactly.
people, this is the get to your first dollar. It's got to be scrappy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, what about the other things? Like, okay, so how are you going to make your first dollar? So then the next biggest question, or I would say one of the biggest questions I always get is like, so how do I get work? How do I get work? So there are multiple ways to get work, right? And there are investments that you can make in order to get work, right? You can invest in a pay to play. You can invest in, management. You can invest in a marketing company that can help you to market. And so these are a lot more, I would say, of the things that once you've decided you're going to hang that shingle out and you're going to do it, well, now you've got to make money, right? Now you've got to see that return on investment that you've made. And so you've got to make money. So how do you make money, and how do you determine what products or what avenues to invest in so that you can find opportunities? Because that's really what you're doing. You're paying to find opportunities. And whether you're paying somebody to help market you in social media, or maybe you're doing that yourself, that's really cost of your time, right?
Yeah.
Which is
Which is a cost.
you got to calculate, and we have a great episode on what's your hourly worth, right? How much do you get paid per hour? So figure out what that is worth. But let's talk about, do you see pay to plays as being a worthy investment?
I think so. And a lot of those pay to plays, and let me go back. It can be a worthy investment depending on the genre that you want to be working in. If you want to be working in a certain genre that pay to plays are more often than not posting jobs for, absolutely yes. And usually those pay to plays have tiers. I started on a pay to play at the lowest tier.
Me too.
As a proof of concept to make sure that I wanted to do this, that it made sense for me, and was I going to be, making my money back. And I found in 1 or 2 jobs, I made that lowest tier that I'd paid for the year, I'd made that money back. So it made more sense to consider upgrading to higher and higher tiers. And I think that's the way that you can sort of stair step it.
I agree.
But if you know that you're wanting to go into a certain genre that maybe a pay to play is not going to be as beneficial for you, then I would make it so that you're getting the best return on your investment of time and money as possible. But then you spend more of your time going into the spaces where that genre is, more marketed. And maybe that's not a pay to play. Maybe it is an agent. Maybe it's not an agent. Maybe it is your own time. Maybe it's looking on social media sites for different types of work opportunities. So knowing the genre that you're trying to work in will then tell you where you should put your time and your energy and your money.
And if you do want to work in both broadcast and non-broadcast, right, that to me separates out the, which genres. There's broadcast and non-broadcast. Broadcast require, you're going to have an agent and maybe a manager. Yep. You're not going to have to invest in an agent, by the way. You don't have to invest money in an agent, but you have to invest money in a demo that will attract an agent, and auditions and or jobs that you've booked on maybe pay to plays or rosters that attract an agent to want to put you on their roster. That's number one.
You need to see it on your website or see where those types of jobs that you've done or your demos.
Absolutely. And I do want to just make one point about the pay to plays, because there's so many people that's always the biggest, I think is one of the biggest topics of discussion is pay to plays and what tiers and what's worth it. Back in the day when I joined, there was only one tier, and it was like a few $100s a year. And even if you join on that first tier, right, and just to dip your toes in the water, remember, to me, it's an education. Because because if you have never worked in voiceover, you don't know what real jobs are out there. You might have worked with a coach that gave you scripts. They were practice scripts. They weren't actual jobs that maybe had casting specs or a quote, oh, here, we're going to pay you this amount of money, and here's the audition I want you to do, or here's the actual size of the job. And so you're really, I think, if you're even just on a bare bones level of those pay to plays, you're paying for education to find out what jobs are current out there, who's hiring, and what types of jobs are they hiring. So I always say a first level investment is always good for people kind of looking to dip their toes in the industry and to find out if this is something they really like, because then they can see, here are the types of jobs that are being offered out there, and here's what an actual corporate narration looks like, or here's what an e-learning module looks like. And so I think that's a very worthy investment. Then yes, there are different tiers. Now, there's always back and forth about, is this tier worth it? Is the most expensive tier worth it? And of course, I think that just depends on the timing of things and your ability to audition well and timely. So there's that.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's for the pay to plays. But now agents don't ever pay for an agent. If you have to pay for an agent, you need to run.
Right.
But managers, in terms of return on investment, if you do get a job through an agent, you're typically paying them a fee. Commission. And so that, yes, is a good return on your investment for the most part, unless you've got an agent who's unscrupulous and maybe not, paying you, which actually does happen. Something did just happen recently, which is unfortunate. And then a manager of which you're paying a certain percentage of every job, whether or not you got that job through them. So that is, that's another discussion, which we actually had a podcast on that, Danielle, because you do have a management company. And for you, it's a very worthwhile investment. Again, depending on the genres that you work in a lot, that is going to determine if it's worth the ROI. So one last thing I want to talk about is ROI in terms of marketing. What should we consider a good return on investment for our marketing efforts? Should we buy a CRM? Should we hire a marketing agency? Should we, pay a social media manager to get us out there. I mean, there's so many different options. And this could be like part 2 of an episode. What are those options and how do I determine the best ROI on that? And marketing is tough.
Marketing is tough
to determine.
I even consider like my agents and managers part of my marketing budget because that me doing all of these auditions through them, and being associated with them on their websites or on their marketing materials is also marketing. And marketing is one of those that it can be you really are playing the long game. You could be marketing to a potential client for years and years, and then finally a job comes your way through them. Well, that's a worthwhile return on investment because you've been consistently reaching out to these people, and as time has gone on, they know you, they can trust you, and they want to work with you. And the stars aligned where they had something that was a good fit for you. So it really, the thing about marketing is that it is a long-term investment.
Sure is.
In the growth of you and your voiceover business. So the ROI with marketing is a little bit more like it's kind of like when you are consistently investing money into your savings account or into the stock market or into your retirement account.
It's harder to track sometimes.
It is hard to track sometimes, but you're doing it knowing that you're not necessarily trying to get an immediate return on investment. You're basically investing in the long-term health of your business because then you're diversifying yourself from the pay-to-plays, from your agents, from your SEO expenses for your website. Like all of those things, it's really just diversification, and that one is harder to track.
And also, it can be a combination of any or all of the above that we have spoken about today. And I really appreciate it. It can be a combination of your investment in yourself and your performance and your auditioning techniques, and investment in, refreshing your demos, and investment in evolving or getting a new website, investment in, maybe paying somebody to help you market yourself, an investment in, a pay-to-plays and a management company. So all of these things together. And as you evolve, right, your investments and your expenses evolve. I mean, that's really called growth.
Yes,
and hopefully it spurs in a positive direction. And it's
you can always also ask yourself, if it's something that you're going to be putting your financial investments in,
right?
Can I afford it? Yes or no? How long will it take for me to be able to afford it? And what do I need to do to purchase it? What tools do I need to use to be able to purchase it? And then what am I trying to gain from it? What does it look like if this were to be successful? What am I trying to get out of it? And it can't just be, I just want to book a job. That's a little too nebulous. It could just be something more like, I want to feel more confident when I walk in my studio. Okay, well, that's a direction that you can go in, and then you can say, okay, return on investment. I got it. Because now I feel a lot more confident. Check the box. But no, what is it going to cost me? That could be money or not. And what is the outcome? What's the cost and what's the outcome? And then when you can figure those two out and you're very clear about it, then go for it because you'll know when you've hit that ROI.
Love it. Love it. And the one thing, my takeaway is that ROI is not always financial. Not always financial, not always easily measurable. So bosses out there, lots of things to consider. Danielle, as always, what an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. Yeah.
This was fun. Thank you for bringing it up.
Absolutely. I am going to give a big shout out to our sponsor, IPDTL. You too can connect and network like bosses. Find out more at ipdtl.com. Guys, have an amazing week. And, you guys are absolutely worth our ROI.
Absolutely.
So
have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye.